When I was looking through my kits in search for my next project, I realized it was time for the Plain Raised Kit Badge challenge, and there wasn't much time left. It would have to be smaller than my last entries. Welcome to the Geeky Workbench. This is the third time I'm taking part in the challenge with a ping pong ball and faucet filter. The first time I made a spaceship lab with an escaping live specimen. That was fun. And the second time I built my first trash-built spaceship using an old DVD drive and only scraps. For this year's challenge I'm also making it sci-fi, and with an idea in mind I started looking for parts I could use. These plane parts looked interesting, and I was thinking of the derelict on LV-426 in the movie Aliens. I knew I wanted to make a small spacecraft with a ping pong ball as the main body in the middle, but other than that I wasn't fixed on a certain design yet. This little transponder is from the days when I took part in street runs. Most of the pieces here didn't make it into the final build, but they still helped me find ideas for shapes. To get a better idea of the scale, I put together one of the figures. These curved wings are the third iteration. First I spent hours trying to make 2 deodorant bottles work, and then I cut straight wings that were inspired by a Lego spaceship, and then I thought, why so complicated? Just make them curve around the ball. And that shape I really liked, so I prepared some panels too. Then it was time to think about where to use the faucet filter. The main parts looked like they would make a great engine, and the inside sieve parts I'll use in the diorama later. At this point I had the idea to make this a repair shop for spaceships, and I think that was inspired by a recent video from Boylai Hobby Time where he made an auto shop with 2 N1 starfighters. And I wanted to give the mechanics something to work on, so I opened up these parts and filled them with greeblies so it would look like the insides of the spaceship. I used cylindrical pieces and some tiny springs, and I think it turned out pretty cool. This is like a teeny tiny cross-section. I'd love to do a cross-section build with one of the Star Wars model kits. I might need to gather more confidence for that, but I've got it on my mind. Then it was time for some tiny greeblies. For that I have a little box named Micro Details with parts from 1/72nd scale trucks. Once all the kit parts were glued on, I added some small panels from my pre-cut vinyl sticker panel collection. And then it was time to prime the ship. The sushi that was on this tray was delicious, and I quite liked the packaging too, so I cleaned it and stored it for future projects. This part looked like it would make a great wall panel for the repair shop. I laid out the pieces and cut some cardboard that would hold the walls and glued those to the XPS foam base. And I made the base pretty small so I could actually finish the project in time. In the meantime, I had put together the mechanics for the repair shop. The figures had flat heads because I didn't use the helmets. This gave me the opportunity to give them a different shape. Nepturians, as the inhabitants of Neptura are called, have elongated heads and blue skin, but otherwise are quite similar to other humanoid species. While the milliput was curing, I could build the wall. I cut out holes for the ink cartridge pieces and glued all the pieces on with white glue. Because the tiles of the sushi wall panel were rectangular, I made the ceiling panels rectangular too, so the design would look coherent. Once the ceiling was done, I turned to the flooring. To give it more interest, I cut a piece of foam to make an elevated platform. Then I had an idea for the sieve parts of the faucet filter. They would make a great vent system. Using a circular cutting tool, I prepared holes for the pieces to go in. And it might look strange to you that I'm turning the material and not the tool, but I've tried this many times. When I turned the tool, the pressure wasn't even and I would get egg shapes. But when I turn the material, I get more circular shapes, so that's why. Then I glued the vent to the ceiling, and that was all of the required pieces used in this build. After that, I glued in a screen and keyboard I had left from another project. I made them with resin and a silicone mold. Then it was time to transform my old racing tracker into a spaceship crane. For that, I cut off the ends and pushed the transponder out. And I'm definitely keeping this for a future project. I added a retractable pole and flexible connectors that could hold even the ball-shaped spaceships. For the platform I decided to add a mirror piece, mainly because I wanted a way to see the details I added on the underside of the ship, but also it just looks cool. One of my favorite parts was inventing little Neptunian repair shop tools. I got out a bunch of tiny kit parts and started gluing them together until I had something I liked. I don't know what the tools do, but I'm not a Neptunian mechanic, so that's okay. From another piece of sushi tray, I cut the trim pieces for the platform and glued them on with white glue. This tool I didn't glue in yet because there would be some more figures and I wasn't sure of their position yet. Then I went to Adobe Illustrator and designed the sign that I wanted to add to the wall. This repair shop has multiple pads for ships of different sizes. This one is for the smaller ships, but more about that later. I cut out the shapes on vinyl sticker using my Cricut Maker. Then I put on a piece of transfer tape which will help apply the sticker to the sign later. But first we have to get everything ready for priming. For the Ancinian politicians, I chose purple and green as the base colors of their outfits. The mechanic's skin is blue, so khaki overalls would match well, and the friendly droid would be golden with a white overall, inspired by C-3PO and R2-D2. You already know about the Neptunian mechanics, and now you've seen the Ancinian politicians too. They were on their way to the Galactic Council, and maybe some sightseeing too while they were there, when their ship had an engine failure. They were forced to land on Nepturia to have it checked. They felt a little uncomfortable at first because Nepturians are much taller than them, but they soon noticed that Nepturians were basically like them, just bigger. Then it was time to paint the details on the base. And then I could finally stick on the vinyl font. I was so looking forward to this. The color scheme of the Unsinian ship is inspired by two builds of Cosmic Quest hobbies. Russ built a cool alien spaceship which was dark green, and he built an alien satellite where he used a copper color. I'll add his channel in the description. For me, copper and green make great contrast colors, and I think it worked well for this ship that is supposed to be a well-kept politician ship that hasn't seen any battle. And I added just a tiny bit of oil wash to make the recesses more visible and even less chipping because I wanted it to look well maintained. For the repair shop I also went with a very subtle weathering because this isn't a little backyard shop but a fairly big repair shop business that can service multiple ships at a time. So I just added a bit of chipping, oil wash and some light dust. Then it was time to add the crane, the ship, the figures and tools to the diorama. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the build, and I hope you'll come back for the next one. There was a little hint in here on the topic. Okay, time for the final results. See you again soon. Bye!